I'm going to show you a quick way to make these really cute fabric coasters. They end up making about a 4.5 inch square, and they are made by folding fabric and lining it. What you're going to need is 5-inch squares of fabric. Each coaster takes 6 5-inch squares, and what I've done is I've done it with a charm pack, and I've used 4 squares for the top, 1 square for the backing. Then you need another square for inside that just kind of hides the batting. It doesn't have to be matching fabric because you don't really see it, so I've chosen to just use a piece of muslin for my lining fabric. But you can use the charm squares. Another reason why I chose to use the muslin is because when you buy a charm pack, you get 42 squares, and I can make 8 coasters out of 1 charm pack as long as I use a separate fabric for the lining. And being that you don't see it, I didn't want to waste my prints for that, you know, and save it so I can make as many coasters as I could. Another thing you need is really handy. It's not a must, but it's really handy. Is these little quilting clips. They are they're helpful when you're using that, if you use them to put on binding, because they've got a rounded edge. But they're really nice because we're putting together pretty thick layers, and it's hard to stick your pins through that. And these just are really handy. I picked up this tin on Amazon. I think it was 100 of them for maybe $10 or something. Pretty inexpensive. Another thing you're going to need is some sort of a tool that you can use to push out the corners. My favorite is this wooden tool, and it is a point turner. That is what it's for. This is called the Purple Thing, and you can use that as well. Anything, you can use a pen, any way to be able to push out those corners. So another thing you're going to need for each coaster, you're going to need a 4 3/4 inch square of cotton batting, thin cotton batting like Warm and White or something like that. You need the batting to help absorb any moisture that may come off of your beverage that you're using for the coaster. So I've already broken into a charm square pack. This one is a Lillian Loon design. The one I'm going to be making my next for this demonstration is also Lillian Loon. What you're going to do when you've got all your 5-inch squares is you're going to figure out which 4 you want to have on the top. I like to do like a dark and a light and a dark and a light so that you can really see those 4 colors. You can also, this charm pack just happened to have basically just light blues and dark blues and some tans. But like this fat quarter pack, there's not necessarily lights and darks, but there's blues and pinks, and there's some greens and that kind of thing. So I separated them out that way. And you're going to take your 5-inch square and wrong sides together. I don't know how obvious that is to see. These are printed pretty well. But wrong side, you're going to fold it in half, take it to your ironing board, and press it. So I already separated these out on which fabrics I wanted to go with which. I folded them all in half, and then I just clipped them with the clip so I can keep all of these pieces together. This is what I want to have go with this this coaster. So I have them all ready. And so what I'm going to do is start assembling. And what you do is you take whatever your lining fabric is. Now, if you use a print, say you're going to use one of your printed 5-inch squares, you're going to put it on the table face down. So the right side would be down. This is a piece of muslin. There is no right and wrong side, so I'm just putting it like that. Then you take your 4 3/4 inch square of batting and center it the best you can. The reason why we make this just a little bit smaller is so that when you sew your seams and we're turning it around, it just helps to alleviate a little bit of the bulk in the seam. Then you're going to take whichever fabric you want to have as your back piece. So the back piece back here that you will see, that is going to lay on top face up. and you're just making sure that everything is lining up pretty well. And then what we do is we take our folded pieces and we're going to weave them together. So you're going to put the folded edge towards the inside, so you're matching your cut edges on the outside, and you lay it down, alternating lights and darks or alternating colors. Overlap that one. Take your next one, fold to the inside, and the last one, fold to the inside. You're going to pull that back so that you can get it underneath this piece, and you've just made that woven piece, and that will be your coaster. So what you really want to try and do is make sure that center is as closed up as you can. Make sure your edges are together. That's when I like to use these clips. Like I said, you can see there's a flat side and kind of a rounded side. So if I use the flat side, put it along the table, and just clip at that intersection, that's going to hold my pieces together. And so because you've got your top fabric folded in half, that's 2 layers. You've got your backing fabric, that's another layer, a layer of batting, and your lining. You've got so many layers, it's a little bit difficult to pin that and keep things straight. So then you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around. And then as you're doing that, you kind of want to make sure, like that, kind of shift it a little. Just really make sure that everything is about as tucked in as it can get. And use a neutral thread or something that sort of matches if you want. Sew your 1/4 inch seam all the way around, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Alright, so now I've gone ahead and I've sewn my 1/4 inch around the whole entire square, and I clipped my corners. The reason why you want to clip the corners, as you can see here, it's clipped pretty close to the stitching line, and that helps that when we turn it, that the corners don't have so much bulk. So I was able to chain piece this as I sewed along. When I went all the way around, then I stuck my next square, went ahead and moved that in, sewed all the way around, and so on. So it goes pretty quickly. I got all my corners notched. So now what you're going to do is you're going to turn it right side out. So the way we do that is you go inside the little woven part that you have, and you're able to see the back fabric. So what you're going to do is you're just going to turn it all right side out, and just kind of push what you can with your finger to get those corners out the best you can. And then you're going to take whatever point turner, corner turner, whatever you want, and you're going to push that corner out on all 4 sides. And when you get that done, then you're going to take it to your iron and press them so that they are nice and crisp along the seam lines. And then you top stitch. So I will get this pushed out, and it takes a little time to get all that fabric pushed out into the corner. The corners will have a tendency to stay a little bit rounded, and that's okay. So then all of that is pushed out. I will then take this to the iron and press it flat, making sure that I work those seams so that the seams are nice and tight, and I want that to be a nice crisp edge. So that will get pressed, and then you top stitch. So this is a completed one, and I just top stitch a 1/4 inch from the edge using my needle down, so when I get to the corner I can just pivot and go all the way around. My suggestion is to don't start at the corner, start about in the middle, because this is a little bulkier. And because you're not going to go all the way off the edge, it's easier if you start in the middle. So I start where these 2 fabrics come together, stitch a 1/4 inch, pivot, go all the way around, and when I get back to here, then that's where I'll end, and I'm not trying to end and have a nice neat edge on the corner. So that's what the completed coaster looks like. So I've got 2 of these done. I will continue doing them until I have all of my coasters done, and they will be matching but not the same, just because they all came from the same line of fabric. So I think it makes a really nice gift. It makes a really nice like housewarming or hostess gift at the holidays. If you did this with Christmas fabrics, it would be really pretty. Like I said before, you don't have to have a charm pack. You just need to have 5-inch squares. Getting charm packs does give you the variety, and everything goes together, and they look really nice. So I hope you have fun with that and decide to make some. Thanks for watching.